In the shadowed annals of criminal history, few stories grip the imagination like that of a man who claimed not to be human at all, but a cursed beast trapped in mortal flesh. Imagine stepping into a 19th century Spanish courtroom where fear hangs thick in the air, and the accused sits calmly, confessing to horrors that defy reason. This is not fiction born from Gothic novels or Hollywood scripts. This is the documented case of Manuel Blanco Romasanta, Spain's first recognized serial killer, known as the Werewolf of Allariz. His tale blends superstition, madness, migration, and cold calculation into one of the most bizarre true crime stories ever recorded. Before we dive deep into this haunting narrative, if you enjoy immersive historical mysteries, real-life horrors, and stories that blur the line between man and monster, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Excited. Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support helps this channel grow, bringing more meticulously researched dark histories to life. Let's build this community together. Thank you.
It is 1853 in Spain. A tense courtroom in the city of Allariz buzzes with agitation and barely contained terror. Spectators shift uneasily, whispering prayers and crossing themselves as they stare at the defendant. On the bench sits a man of about 40 years old. He does not look like a monster. There are no fangs, no claws, no wild eyes. He appears ordinary, almost gentle, with a calm demeanor that only heightens the dread of those present. This man stands accused of 13 brutal murders. The bodies of his victims were often found mutilated beyond easy recognition, torn as if by savage claws and teeth. Yet he confesses freely to the killings, with one extraordinary caveat. He claims he is not responsible. He says he committed these acts in an unconscious, transformed state. He is, by his own account, a werewolf. This trial would later become known as the 1853 case of the Wolf Man, one of the last major European cases where clinical lycanthropy, the delusion of transforming into a wolf, was seriously debated in a court of law. My name is the narrator of these shadows, and today I bring you the full, detailed chronicle of Manuel Blanco Romasanta, not as a distant observer, but as the teller who has pieced together every fragment of this extraordinary history so you can experience it as a living, breathing saga. Let us travel back further to set the stage properly. Spain in the mid-19th century was a land of contrasts and hardship. The northern regions, particularly Galicia, where much of this story unfolds, suffered from relentless crop failures, prolonged rains, and devastating famines. These conditions triggered massive rural migration. Peasants left their villages in search of work, food, and a better life in the cities. Roads were poor, maps scarce, and navigation dangerous. In this vacuum, a new profession emerged: the companion, or guide. Someone who knew the paths, offered protection, and led travelers through forests and mountains. Enter Manuel Blanco Romasanta. Born on November 18, 1809, in the village of Regueiro, Manuel's life began with mystery. Some historical accounts suggest that due to a rare congenital condition or ambiguity at birth, he was initially raised as a girl for the first several years of his life. His family was relatively prosperous for the time, literate, which was uncommon, allowing him an education that set him apart. At age 21, he married, but his wife died after only 3 years. He then embarked on extensive travels across Spain and even into Portugal. These journeys gave him intimate knowledge of the land, forests, and routes, knowledge he would later weaponize. Physically, Romasanta was short and slight. Local men often viewed him as effeminate, but women trusted him deeply. He worked as a laborer, helping with household chores, washing, cleaning, cooking, mending clothes, and harvesting. He presented himself as helpful, knowledgeable, and safe. This trust would prove fatal for many. In the small town of Requejo, or nearby areas, terror began in earnest around the 1840s to 1850s. The first victims were a woman and her young daughter found in the forest. Their bodies were savagely mutilated, wounds so vicious that locals insisted no human hand could have inflicted them. Claws and teeth seemed the only explanation. Rumors spread like wildfire. A beast roamed the woods. In an era still steeped in superstition, Belief in werewolves was not fringe, it was culturally resonant. Across Europe, hundreds had been executed for alleged lycanthropy in prior centuries.
More disappearances followed. Women and children vanished while heading to new lives in the cities. Strange howls echoed at night. Shadows of large beasts were glimpsed. Then more bodies, again women with small children or alone, torn apart. A pattern emerged. Every victim had been accompanied by the same man into the forest. That man was Gomez, or so he called himself at the time. When authorities arrested him, the truth unraveled. Gomez was an alias. His real name was Manuel Blanco Romasanta, already wanted for an earlier murder. In 1843, he had killed a local constable over a debt of 600 reals and fled. Now, confronted with overwhelming evidence, Romasanta confessed, but not as a man. He claimed he was under a curse. According to his testimony, a mysterious figure had appeared to him years earlier and transformed him into a wolf. For days at a time, he would become a savage beast, hunting and devouring with others of his kind.
He described the sensation vividly, the power, the hunger, the loss of human control. Upon returning to human form, he retained fragmented memories, but insisted the beast, not the man, was responsible. He even named accomplices, other werewolves, though they were never found. The court was stunned. Newspapers across Spain sensationalized the Werewolf of Allariz. The case drew international attention. Romasanta's calm, articulate defense only deepened the intrigue. He pointed out exact locations of crimes with precision. He described how the group of wolves attacked, fed, and left remains for real animals to scavenge, explaining why some bodies appeared partially eaten by wolves. Forensic examination in the trial led to a remarkable ruling. 4 of the victims were deemed killed by actual wolves, not directly by Romasanta. This lent a sliver of credibility to his story in the eyes of some. Yet 9 murders were firmly attributed to him. The bodies of victims were often found in remote forest areas he knew intimately from his guiding work. Many victims were vulnerable migrant women he had offered to escort to safety, only to lead them to their deaths. He reportedly robbed them as well, using the money to sustain his wandering life. To fully understand this case, we must immerse ourselves in the world Romasanta inhabited. Mid-19th century Spain was emerging from centuries of superstition into the age of reason, yet old beliefs lingered strongly in rural areas. Clinical lycanthropy, a recognized psychiatric condition where sufferers believe they physically transform into animals, provided a modern lens. Romasanta may have suffered from this delusion, or he may have used it masterfully as a defense to avoid execution. His childhood gender ambiguity, early widowhood, rootless travels, and possible social ostracism as an effeminate man could have fueled deep psychological fractures. Some researchers speculate he was intersex or had hormonal conditions that influenced his self-perception. Others see pure sociopathy, a calculating killer who preyed on trust, used the era's superstitions as cover, and spun an elaborate tale to save his neck. The migration waves created perfect hunting grounds. Desperate families trusted guides. Forests were vast and lawless. Romasanta's literacy and charm allowed him to build false rapport. Victims were often stripped of possessions before or after death. He left bodies where wolves or scavengers would further mutilate them, blurring evidence. One chilling detail stands out. He claimed the transformation lasted days, during which he and his pack hunted. Upon reverting, he felt remorse, yet continued the cycle. This narrative allowed him to confess without fully accepting moral guilt. The trial was a spectacle. Doctors and alienists, early psychiatrists, examined him. Some believed his claims, others saw cunning manipulation. The court ultimately sentenced him to death by garrote, the standard Spanish execution method. But the story did not end there.
Intrigued, a prominent hypnotist and physician, Dr. José de Dios, petitioned Queen Isabella II. He argued the case deserved further scientific study and that Romasanta might represent a genuine medical anomaly. The Queen, intrigued by the scientific and sensational aspects, commuted the sentence to life imprisonment. She ordered prison officials to monitor him closely for any signs of transformation or unusual behavior. Romasanta spent his final years in prison. He never transformed. No howls, no claws, no beastly episodes. In 1859, just 2 years after sentencing, he died of stomach cancer, an ordinary human ailment claiming an extraordinary man.
Let us expand this into the complete tapestry. From his birth in 1809, amid Napoleonic aftermath and social upheaval, through his ambiguous early years, brief marriage, extensive travels that mapped the land like a predator learning its territory, to his emergence as a trusted guide in the 1840s. Each journey built his reputation. Each offer of help masked darker intent. He is believed to have killed at least 9 confirmed victims, possibly more. The victims were predominantly women and children, the most vulnerable in migratory groups. Their bodies, when found, told stories of extreme violence: throats torn, limbs severed, organs removed in ways that mimicked animal attacks but bore the precision of human knowledge. Romasanta's confessions were detailed and consistent, yet self-serving. He portrayed himself as a victim of supernatural forces, an evil genius thrown by God into a world not for him. This poetic fatalism resonated in a religious society. The broader historical context is vital. Spain was dealing with Carlist wars, political instability, and scientific enlightenment clashing with folk beliefs. Werewolf trials, though rarer than in the Middle Ages, still evoked primal fears. Romasanta's case became a flashpoint: superstition versus science, individual madness versus societal hysteria. In the end, Manuel Blanco Romasanta remains an enigma. Was he a genuine sufferer of clinical lycanthropy, driven by mental illness to commit atrocities he half believed were beyond his control? Or was he a clever sociopath who exploited fear and folklore to justify greed and bloodlust? The evidence leans toward the latter. A man who used the forests he knew so well, the trust he cultivated, and the era's beliefs as weapons. 4 victims may indeed have fallen to real wolves, but 9 died at human hands.
Sighs. His calm in court, precise recollections, and history of flight after the constable's murder paint a picture of calculation, not uncontrollable transformation. This story warns us about the darkness that can hide behind a helpful smile, the power of superstition to obscure truth, and the eternal struggle between reason and primal fear. Romasanta's tale is a bridge between medieval legend and modern criminology, a reminder that sometimes the most terrifying monsters walk on 2 legs and speak with soft voices. As we close this chapter, reflect on how far we've come, yet how thin the veil between civilized man and inner beast can be. Mental illness, opportunity, and choice collide in every dark deed.
Thank you for joining me on this journey through history's shadows. If this story moved you, chilled you, or made you think, please subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment. What do you believe? Curse, madness, or calculated evil? Share your thoughts below. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people and allows the channel to thrive and bring you more meticulously crafted historical narratives. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and remember, not everything that howls in the night is truly a wolf. Farewell, and see you in the next tale.